Hello friends, how are you all doing? My name is Shaz, short for Shahrazad, and I love colorful makeup. Today we're going to take a look at Fete de Provence Palette by Nomad Cosmetics. This is the inside of the palette. It has an absolutely beautiful color story. And I also love the embossings. They're very detailed and super cute. If this sounds good to you, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel for more content like this. Now let's jump into the video. So what really caught my attention about this palette, I think I mentioned it in the intro as well, is the details. So both the outside packaging, super cute, super on theme with Provence, and then the inside, it has beautiful embossing. I did an unboxing video where I unboxed this palette, and I'll tag it here, but in that video I also mentioned the name of the colors are very on theme. So for example, Champ de Tournesol means sunflower fields, and then there is a sunflower embossed on the pan. Champ de Lavande means lavender fields. There's lavenders embossed on the pan, and so on. So it's very thought through, and it's very cute. It totally sells the palette from packaging and sort of branding perspective. And Nomad Cosmetics does do things like this with their other palettes as well. I also have done another review of the Monteverde palette. I'll post that as well because that also has something similar. That definitely sells the brand, as well as, of course, the colors are also very on theme. If you've been to Marseille or Provence area in south of France, there are a lot of lavenders. They do lavender soap. It's sort of by the ocean. There is a lot of oceanic themes. And here you have that. So you have a lot of lavender, purple colors, but then you have sun and sunflowers and a lot of wine and rosé and things like that, which is completely on brand with the geography that it's representing. Let me show you the swatches before we go into the first eye look. Top 2 rows of the Fete de Provence palette. Bottom row of the Fete de Provence palette. As you can see, I've tried to sort of match my outfit, even my ring, to the color of the palette. This is a brand new look. I'm gonna mentally assume I have no preconceived notion of the first look. And I'm going to use the Lancôme base for this one because this base has been performing pretty well with a lot of other shadows. So I'm going to go into Belle Vie or Beautiful Life. I just realized the name of the color is actually not Belle Vie. The name of the color is Calisson. I expected more pigmentation because of the color you see in the palette. You know, I'm not getting that exact same color on my eye. Now I'm gonna take a packing brush and I'm gonna go into Macaron. Okay, the pigmentation here is also pretty good. So a little bit of geography lesson. Provence is south of France. It's by Côte d'Azur, or it's by the water. When I was in college, I had the opportunity to go to Aix-en-Provence, a city in Provence, to do study abroad. And I didn't, and instead I went to Grenoble, which is north. I think it's directly north of Provence, in a different region of France called Rhône-Alpes, which is by the mountains, completely different type of geography, and I studied there. And I don't know why I did that, because I actually love living by the water. That's sort of my retirement plan, is to end up in a city by the water. So far, everything has been good. So I'm gonna go back into Marché de Provence, which means Provence's market, which was this color, and I'm gonna test it again. It has a lot of kick up. I don't know why. Just wondering if that has to do with it. Let's test the behavior. Still, the color seems a bit muted down to me compared to the color I see in the palette. I watched a couple of other people's videos just to see, and people could get a lot of color out of this, and I'm not sure how. Did I get a dud? Look at that color and look at what I see on my eyes. And the issue that I have is that as I'm using this, I kind of see gusts of powder around. And that just says that the eyeshadow is way more powdery than it should be. That normally doesn't happen with eyeshadow. With a much smaller brush, we're going into this color, Côte d'Azur. Okay, I continue to see the gusts of powder. I don't know if you guys can see it, like there's powder going everywhere as I'm moving this under my eye, and that never happens. I know some people had complained about oil seeping into the packaging for some of these eyeshadow palettes, and I wonder if they have tried to reformulate things with less oil, and as a result things are just dustier. I'm gonna go into this color and I'm going to lighten up the inner corner. I'm gonna pick the first brush that I used for Calisson and I'm gonna rub this off a little bit. You see that? Like I rubbed it off and the color is gone. Like that gray color that was out here, pay attention to this side. Like it's almost removing it. Okay friends, the eye look is complete. I also used a little bit of Ultra Blotted Lip from ColourPop in color Sleepy Eyes. Might not be available anymore, this shade or this formula. Fete de Provence was okay. You can see it kind of deepened the look. I expected a much darker shade here. Côte d'Azur really feels super powdery and one of those eyeshadows that literally just rubs off. It's a little bit too sheer for my taste. But if you like sheer mattes, or if you're used to other palettes using sheer mattes, or if you're not a huge color loving person, perhaps this palette would work for you. I know in certain cultures, makeup is much more muted down. For that kind of look, this is probably going to be a very good palette. But I like things that are super bright and super flashy and super in your face. So yeah, that wouldn't work for me. Let me bring the camera closer and take a close-up of the eye look for you, and then we can go into the third eye look. I have already primed my eyes with Lancome's base. I'm gonna use some of the shades again to give them an opportunity to redeem themselves. Okay, let's go into this color Miel de Lavande, which means lavender honey. I'm going to just pack it on. Yellow and purple are complementary colors, so if you mix the two, you will get brown. So I have to be careful when I'm working with the two of them next to each other, because if they mix, they will give us brown and they will start looking muddy. I'm gonna use a little bit of this color next to the yellow so that I can segue into purple. The name of this color is Calisson. Can you see like I don't even see any pigmentation. Can you see pigmentation? So I packed it already a couple of times, and this is the color. And this is what you're seeing on my eyes. If you all remember, this one was one of the ones that gave me some hard times. So let's try to use it again, and we're gonna use it in the outer portion of my eye. I do see some color, but I still see that gust of powder every time I move this around. But at least I see some color, which is not bad. I'm gonna go into this dark black. Let's see how this black's gonna work for us. And I'm gonna just tap a little bit. I'm gonna get a fluffier brush and just mix here. So the black had a good bit of pigment. I'm not upset there. But it also had a lot of kick up, which is okay. Dark mattes having kick up is not that abnormal. I'm gonna pick a brush that looks like this. I'm gonna go into this purple color, the shimmery purple. I'm gonna draw this across my lower lash line. And I'm gonna go into this color. The name of that color was Savon de Marseille, which means Marseille soap. Marseille is a city in Provence. And then Bouche du Rhône. I'm gonna tap this in the center. Now I'm gonna use a little bit of this Champ de Mimosa. It means Mimosa Fields. Is Mimosa the name of a flower? Maybe. And I'm gonna put it in my inner corner. Oh, I like this color. It looks like it's glittery, but it doesn't have any glitters. I don't think it has any glitter in it, but it looks glittery, and it's a yellow with a green hue. Very nice. Okay friends, my eye look with the Fete de Provence palette is done. On my lips, I used Ultra Blotted Lip in the color Slide from ColourPop. My overall perspective of this palette has not changed much since the first look. The mattes are very hit or miss. Some of them are extremely powdery and do not even stick to the face, like Côte d'Azur, like Champ de Lavande, like Marche de Provence. Ozap was okay. Miel de Lavande was okay. The red macaron was okay. Calisson doesn't really have a whole lot of color. This isn't the color you're gonna get. I mean, I used it. Do you even see this coral in this look? And I haven't used Rosé or Vendange. Completely opposite to that, I really like the shimmers, particularly Flûte à Corset, Fleur de Mimosa, and Bouche de Rond are very unique colors. They're not the type of shimmer or the shimmer color that you're gonna see in every other palette. This Fleur de Mimosa is extremely unique. I was very impressed by the color here. Similarly with Bouche de Rond, as well as Flûte à Corset. I'm actually very sad because I really like this color story, but I don't see myself wanting to use this palette just having this experience in mind. Let me know what your thoughts are about this palette. Let me know if you have it and have had similar or completely different experience with the mattes. I would love to know your thoughts. I would like to know if I got a dud or if this is how it performs on other people as well. I'm gonna bring the camera closer now so that I can show you the eye look from close up. As you saw under the screen, I had it in notes that I removed the footage for the first eye look and I moved directly into the second eye look. And the reason for that is that I purchased this palette and I did the video. The rest of the footage for this video is from, I want to say, about a month ago. So I had this palette for a while, and the first eye look that I made for this video, and I think that was the very, very first impression of the palette. I had never used the palette before that. It was pretty bad. I could not get any of the purple colors to work, and they were just blending away. They were not even staying on my eyes. So what I did is that I decided I didn't want to put that video up because I wasn't sure if I got a super dud palette or what was going on. So I contacted the brand and I told them what had happened, and I told them, you know, to give me options, and they said they can send me another palette. So they sent me another palette. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to try to recreate that eye look with this palette and see if things have changed. Now, as I said, I've had this palette for around a month, if not more. And in that period, I played around with it a little bit. And one thing I realized is that all the matte colors work better if applied with a packing brush. I have brought a whole lot of packing brushes of different shapes and forms to make sure I have correctly equipped myself to be able to make a good eye look for you. So with all that said, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use the second palette I received, trying to make the same eye look on this eye, and then I'm gonna use the old palette that I had on the second eye, trying to recreate that same eye look. And we'll see if they look the same or they look different. What this will show is if they look the same, then maybe my application of the palette wasn't correct and this palette just is a little bit pickier than I thought. And then based on the outcomes, we can figure out what's going on. If all that sounds good, I'm gonna get started. And for this eye look, I've already primed my eyes with Max Painterly. So let's jump right in. I'm going to go into this color, the lavender color Champ de Lavande, which means lavender fields. And I'm gonna put it into my crease. So normally for putting colors in my crease, I use a round fluffy brush, but as you have noticed, I have a brush currently that has a pinch. That's because I'm trying to use as close to a packing brush as I can for all of these colors so that there are no excuses. The pan is showing a good bit of kick up, but as you can see, I have a decent pigmentation, so I'm already hopeful. Then with a packing brush, and this brush is just stained, there's no color on it, You know what, just to be safe, I'm going to use the white side. I'm going to go into this color called Fete de Provence, and I'm going to put it across my lid. I still feel that this could have had better color payoff. I'm going to use the first brush and blend these in together a little bit. I'm now going to use another packing brush that has a little bit of a slant, and I'm going to go into this color called Aux Alpes. Very, very kick-up-y. And I'm going to deepen out this outer edge. Unfortunately, the Fete de Provence color is just not doing it. I'm going to pick a little bit more of it again and try to fix this part because it's completely patchy. I'm now going to use another pinched brush, and I'm going to go into Côte d'Azur. This color did not have good outcomes last time. Let's see. I'm going to put this under my lower lid. Again, I'm seeing a lot of fuzz going everywhere. I don't know if you can see it in the video. Now I'm going to use a little bit of that very first brush, and I'm going to buff this out a bit. You see, when I buff it, it all gets removed. Going back with this brush. For some odd reason, this doesn't stick to my eye. Now, maybe you have a different type of skin and this works on you. I'm gonna pick this brush that has Fete de Provence on it, and I'm gonna try to see if I can buff it with this. I'm not the biggest fan of this palette. I'm gonna go back into Fete de Provence. This part literally is not even blending, and it's constantly getting patchy. I'm gonna use a little bit of NYX's glitter primer and just tap it here. And I'm gonna go to Bouche du Rhône, which is this color, the gray blue. And I'm gonna put it in this center. I'm gonna go into this color with a pencil brush. The name of the color is Fleur de Mimosa. I'm gonna put it in my inner corner. This is a lovely color. This is one of those unique shimmers. If I had to say what I like about Nomad Cosmetics, it's literally unique shimmers. They do unique shimmers super well. I'm not the biggest fan of their mattes. And now I'm gonna go into this color called Savon de Marseille, or Marseille Soap. And I'm gonna put it here. And now I'm gonna pick a tiny brush and go into this color, Champ de Tournesol, which means sunflower fields. And I'm going to put a little bit of brightness on my cheekbone. No, not cheekbone. What is it? Brow bone. Okay, friends, the eye look is done. I think I've identified my main problems. I have the most amount of issue with Côte d'Azur and Fete de Provence. The other colors were okay. The palette has a crazy amount of kick up, and the shimmers are pretty nice. As I said at the beginning, now I'm going to use the old palette to make the second eye look. I'm going to do it off camera, and I will be right back and I'll tell you my experience. Okay, friends, I did the second eye look as well. Interestingly, the second palette had less kick up than the first one, and the colors are drier and they are harder. Even the shimmer shadows were harder and less creamy. I had to really dig my finger into them to get colors out, which could mean they are harder pressed. I don't know, just an assumption. I continue to experience absolute dryness with this color. It pretty much doesn't even stick to my face, and patchiness with this color. It is what it is. The other colors were okay, no issues there. Jaune de Lavande is pretty pigmented. Jaune de Tournesol is pretty pigmented. They're lighter colors, so they can have a lot of pigment, but they will still be light because they're not dark colors. Aux Alpes is pretty good, and the shimmers were pretty good, but I continue to experience the same issue with these two colors. Now, the shimmer colors work pretty well and they're pretty unique. Would I purchase this palette just for the shimmers? Probably not. They are pigmented and they will swatch well. The issue is they don't get picked up with a brush, and be placed the same way as you would see in the swatch with the brush, which is, I think, part of the reason why the shimmers perform better than the mattes, because I think the mattes are just too dry and too sort of fly away. So when you pick them with a fluffy brush, they kind of go everywhere and they don't really stick. It's that sticking power that's missing, and I don't know what kind of ingredient in an eyeshadow leads to that. Write down to me if you know. And it seems that even using Painterly, which is a pretty popular eyeshadow base and should perform well, does not help with the eyeshadow sticking properly to my eyes. The fact that these palettes didn't perform well, or these eyeshadows didn't perform well on my eyes, does not mean they're not going to perform well on your eyes. I might have older or younger skin than yours. I might have oilier, more hydrated, or drier skin than yours. I might just have a completely different eye shape or eye texture than you do. So take from this video what you will. With all of that said, thank you so much for being here with me. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it or if you learned something, and consider subscribing to my channel for more content like this. I love you all, and until next time, bye.